Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Whitney Van Laningham, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse officially introduced us to the web of life and destiny, or the arachno-humanoid polymultiverse as Miguel O'Hara prefers to call it. And while we'll have to wait at least a year, or more if they keep underpaying and disrespecting creatives, to finish Miles' trilogy, we might actually see the web of life and destiny sooner than later. Sony's Madam Web movie is set for release in February 2024, and while we don't have a ton of details about it just yet, Madam Web as a character is tailor-made to explore the web of life and destiny, and through it, she could further tie together the MCU and Sony Spider-Verse.
It is usually a good idea to have a seat when your world is about to be turned upside down.
After releasing 2018's Venom, 2021 Venom Let There Be Carnage, and 2022's Morbius, Sony is doubling down on their Spider-Man adjacent properties with their first female-led spin-off starring Dakota Johnson as the titular character Madam Web. Written by Morbius writers Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless, Madam Web is going to be a different kind of movie in this universe, according to producer Lorenzo Di Bonaventura at least. In an interview with comicbook.com, Di Bonaventura said that the film is more of a thriller than an action picture, and that's because Madam Web's skill set isn't conducive to an action piece. Because comic book Madam Web's past is shrouded in mystery, Di Bonaventura said that they're taking advantage of this to make a new origin story for the iconic clairvoyant. Di Bonaventura also says that the film will introduce us to the character before she becomes the character we know from the comics, and we'll get to see how she becomes that person firsthand. Sony has yet to confirm the civilian identity of their Madam Web, and the comics actually have two different Madam Webs to choose from. Set photos show Dakota Johnson wearing a costume similar to the one the second Madam Web, Julia Carpenter, wears. But there are also rumors that Sidney Sweeney will be the one playing Julia Carpenter, not Johnson. If those rumors end up being true, this would make Johnson a much younger Cassandra Webb, and seems to fit with Di Bonaventura wanting to explore the early life of the character. In the comics, Cassandra Webb made her Marvel debut in 1980's The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 210, The Prophecy of Madam Web. Webb is a mutant who has both precognitive and clairvoyant abilities, and is depicted as an older blind woman who suffers from a neuromuscular disease called myasthenia gravis. Her disability makes it necessary for her to stay connected to a life support system that looks like a giant spider web, which is how she gets her moniker. Most of Webb's early appearances involved her using her psychic powers to predict villainy, giving Spider-Man a heads up on criminal activity and disasters. The character eventually found popularity thanks to the 90s animated series. Voiced by Stan Lee's wife, Joan Lee, this version of Webb wasn't a mutant. Instead, she was rewritten as a powerful cosmic being from another universe, who even Doctor Strange knew not to F around with.
What's wrong? I sense that we are being watched by someone whose powers dwarf my own.
In the series, Madam Web looks into the future and sees the destruction of the multiverse, and basically all reality, at the hands of Spider Carnage, a former Spider-Man who's merged with one of the Carnage symbiotes. Web sets out to test all the different Spider-Man variants to see which one will be capable of saving the multiverse. This version of Web intertwined the character with the concept of the Marvel multiverse, influencing her future depictions across media, and making Web's psychic powers stem from a connection to the web of life and destiny that holds the fabric of the multiverse together. It's Secret Invasion season, and the easiest way to let people know that you're not a Skrull, or make them think you're not a Skrull, is to pick up some merch from Nerd Riot's new Secret Invasion collection. The shapeshifter tee announces that you're totally not a Skrull, which is exactly what a Skrull shirt would say. The Friend or Foe and the One Last Fight shirts highlight our buds Rhodey and Nick Fury, and their potential to really be a green-skin alien. You can also shop our full line of designs inspired by Across the Spider-Verse and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and keep an eye out for a very cool Barbie Oppenheimer combo shirt that is officially the best thing to wear on your torso in July. Shopping at Nerd Riot is one of the best ways to support our channel, so join the riot over at nerdriot.shop. Be it the Spider-Man animated series or games like Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, Webb has garnered a reputation of becoming a multiversal spider recruiter, akin to MCU's Nick Fury. So it's very likely that Sony will be using their Madam Web film to build out a story that'll serve as a launching point for crafting an interconnected story that explores the multiverse. A multiverse that has already been shown in No Way Home and Across the Spider-Verse to have connections with the MCU. By the looks of what little images we have of the film thus far, Madam Web will have already started recruiting some spiders. Without going too deep into unsubstantiated rumor territory, Madam Web will likely feature 3 separate Spider-Women. As I said earlier, Sidney Sweeney is potentially playing Julia Carpenter. Carpenter is the second Spider-Woman who inherits Madam Web's powers and becomes the second Madam Web when Cassandra dies. Then we have Celeste O'Connor, rumored to be playing Maddie Franklin, the third Spider-Woman and niece of J. Jonah Jameson. And lastly, we have Isabella Merced reportedly playing Anya Corazon, a Spider-Girl who also goes by the alias Aranya. Now, this might sound like too many spiders to be true, but the possibility of Sony's Madam Web putting this lineup together together is very reminiscent of a late 90s Spider-Woman run. In Spider-Woman Volume 3, Issue 1, a youthfully rejuvenated Madam Web puts together a team of 3 Spider-Women to hunt down a 4th, Madam Web's own granddaughter, Charlotte Witter. Now, this team does differ slightly from the film's rumored roster. Instead of Aranya, the comic featured Jessica Drew, the first Spider-Woman. Rumors also suggest that the reasoning for this team-up will be much different than this comic run, with Webb's Spider Team forming to protect Emma Roberts' character, who may or may not be May Parker, Peter's mother. These parallels to Spider-Woman Volume 3 have me personally convinced that Dakota Johnson will most likely play a youthful Cassandra Webb, and Sidney Sweeney will play Julia Carpenter, who will be set up at some point to inherit Webb's powers, title, and possibly even her killer wardrobe. If this is the direction that Sony is headed, it does tie in with both Kraven the Hunter and potential future plans for the Web of Life and Destiny. In the arc known as the Grim Hunt, Kraven's family hunt down spider heroes in an effort to revive their father. Part of this is the killing of Cassandra, who, in her last moments, bestows her powers to Julia Carpenter. As the new Madam Web, Julia's comic arcs deal heavily with protecting the order of the Web of Life and Destiny. Judging by the Kraven trailer, we aren't likely to get Kraven's whole pride introduced, but Sony is packing in several potential allies for the Hunter. Calypso, the Rhino, and Kraven's half-brother, the Chameleon, are featured prominently in the trailer. My thoughts are that we're seeing a decent lineup for the Sinister Six if you add in Morbius and Vulture. And if their little cliffside meetup is any indication, we might be heading towards a spider hunt. A spider hunt that could draw inspiration from the Grim Hunt. If Madam Web introduces a handful of spiders like the rumors suggest, we could see a clash between the two parties that results in Julia Carpenter becoming the new Madam Web. Remember, Vulture's appearance in Morbius and Venom's universe hop hints that Doctor Strange and Peter One's actions in No Way Home have tangled portions of the Web of Life and Destiny, rearranging variants or people connected to Peter Parker across dimensions. I wouldn't be surprised if the events of Madam Web and Kraven reveal that even more universes have become tangled. So, a Grim Hunt for spider heroes might lead to some grave multiversal repercussions, just like the consequences of averting canon events in Across the Spider-Verse. What happens when 2 foreign variants affect, fight, or die in a canon that isn't their own? A domino effect could destabilize the multiverse. And what's the best solution for fixing this? Having Madam Web with her multiversal powers go directly to the source of her woes, Tom Holland's Peter Parker.
Hi.
Sony has expressed interest in diving further into the multiverse to potentially do a live-action Spider-Verse storyline. Sony's also shamelessly tried to find a way to work in connections with the MCU. So if they're going multiversal, they'll undoubtedly try to tie in Tom Holland's Peter, and considering that he's the reason for the multiverse being amiss in the first place, it would only make sense. Now, if it'll happen will certainly be up to how effectively Sony and Disney negotiate about the use of Tom Holland. But if Across the Spider-Verse and No Way Home are any indication, mashing up Spider-Man canons is a surefire way to print money, and Sony loves money. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Whitney Puppy, follow New Rockstars, subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love, and thanks for watching. Bye!